Good evening, everyone. This is the 23rd of June, 2025, and Eric Brown here, Detroit in Black and White, presents Reality Strikes with Eric Brown, and a lot to talk about, actually, with regards to what's going on in the Detroit area. I think the key thing to discuss right now is in a little bit over an hour and a half, they will be shooting off the fireworks. And with that comes the issue that has been trending on Facebook all day today. And that issue is that of city parks not being accessible to the residents in the city of Detroit. That is in and of itself amazing. And I say that because the residents pay taxes. And with those taxes that are being paid, one would think that they would be allowed to utilize the city parks without having all these restrictions when it comes to the uses of the park or parks just being closed. That is just crazy to me. And for many that were talking about it on Facebook, and there were a lot of comments surrounding the issue. And it is a legitimate concern, a very legitimate concern that people need to pay attention to. Because how is it that you live in a city, but you're not able to utilize the parks in that city to enjoy activities such as the annual fireworks? So the issue is legitimate. And good evening, Karen. How you doing? Because how are they able to get away with this ban on using parks? You know, the following locations have been identified as the best viewing sites to watch the fireworks in Detroit. Hart Plaza, which is downtown, Belle Isle, you're viewing in front of the MacArthur Bridge, though viewing in front of the MacArthur Bridge would not be permitted. Then you also have Spirit Plaza right downtown in front of the City County building. But here's a list of the various locations that will be closed to city residents. And these establishments are parks that were built for the citizens to be able to utilize. You have Riverwalk in its entirety from Gabriel Richard Park to Huntington Place, closed. AB4 Park, which is at 100 Lenox, closed. The very popular Decunder Cut, closed. Irma Henderson Park, which is down on Jefferson, right next to the Belle Isle, prior to you getting on Belle Isle, closed. Gabriel Richard Park, not too far from Irma Henderson Park, closed. Lakewood East, which is at 14578 Riverfront Boulevard, closed. Bethera Gentry Park, which is at 1250 Avondale, closed. Mariner Park, 14700 Riverside Boulevard, closed. Mount Elliott Park, which is at 110 Mount Elliott, closed. Owens Park, 8430 Jefferson, closed. Riverside Park, closed. Stockton Park, closed. Now, people, if you are a resident, how does this make you feel that for one of the most prominent events in the city of Detroit, you're not able to utilize the numerous parks that give some of the best views to check out the annual fireworks? And, I'm looking at a comment. This comment is pretty funny. Someone's like, because they want us to view the fireworks from Gratiot and 7 Mile. And I laugh internally, hysterically, because 7 Mile and Gratiot is a ways away from the downtown area. You know, and it's too late. The fireworks taking place tonight in a little bit over an hour and a half. And the complaints that can be made or should be made are to the city ombudsman. But that's crying over spilled milk, considering that the ombudsman office is closed, and then complaining to him tomorrow would be too late. The fireworks are taking place today because there will not be a rain date for the fireworks. The fireworks will be taking place today. They did the same thing last year, as one commenter on Facebook said. This is terrible. Another comment. Then they talk about how Belle Isle isn't completely open either. Half the park will be closed off. Shaking my head, ridiculous. It's the comment from someone on Facebook. And here's a very, very interesting comment, because the whites are saying the blacks are the reason Detroit's get destroyed. Interesting comment, considering that Detroit is a 80-85% black city. And if they give it that much juice to the minority race in a majority black city, that is too interesting. Someone asked, is this something that city council has approved or has to approve? If so, and it was a very vocal issue last year, why is it being asked or done again this year? The mayor, currently the city council, are not doing their job. The ability to crowd control and maintain safe viewing is an excuse. Well, I haven't been down to the fireworks in quite a long time, the Detroit fireworks that is, but from the news that is reported on after, they have city police, they have ICE, and I'm not sure if they have ICE down there this year because of all the deportation issues. They have the county sheriffs, the state police, neighboring police departments. So if you can't keep people safe under those conditions, and they have metal detectors in certain areas you have to go through to get into areas. Lights are very visible and very bright. So I'm not sure, what the issue is. But what's so interesting is there are so many things that the citizens have to pay attention to, first and foremost. And elections are coming up on August 5th. This is an issue that a lot of people might want to make their single issue voting address when it comes to who they'd be voting for mayor, city council. And just so you all would know, during the month of July, all 4 Mondays in July, I will have nothing but city council and or mayoral candidates on my show. Detroit in Black and White presents Reality Strikes with Eric Brown. And thank you all the viewers on Facebook, YouTube Live, as well Facebook Live and YouTube that are watching this evening. And the list of the guests that will be on for the month of July, starting on July 7th, mayoral candidate Jonathan Barlow, city council candidate Janae Ayers, July 14th, city council candidate Whitney Clark, city council candidate Tyrone Carter, July 21st, city council candidate Roy McAllister, city council candidate Denzel McCampbell. And then closing out the month on July 28th, I will have mayoral candidate Santil Jenkins, as well as mayoral candidate Todd Perkins coming on to the show to present their case for why they should be mayor or city council in the city of Detroit. But, there's a lot that is going on. Recently, just yesterday, I live out in the Plymouth Canton area, which is not too far from the church that was saved from being a mass shooting in Westland. And by the grace of God, pun intended, obviously, since it was a church, the shooter was stopped in his tracks because he could not even get into the church. And he was killed prior to getting in the church. So there's a lot to learn or to be spoken about with regards to that issue, because one of the things that is so interesting is that the shooter mother attended church, and in a news release that was put out earlier today, he also attends or have attended the church a few times over the last 6 months to a year. So there's something very, very interesting about that. But the best thing to be said about this is that a mass casualty was definitely presented. And yes, Karen, he was a white guy. His mom attends that church. And, you know, what I find interesting, so many times these situations take place in suburban communities. Well, most of them take place in suburban communities when it comes to a lot of these mass shootings of the magnitude of what would have happened yesterday had he not been killed. They always want to point the finger at blaming mental illness when it is a situation involving, you know, a white guy, a white female, because there has been a couple of females over the last year or two that have been shooters in mass shootings. And they always want to go to the mental health crisis issue, because that's one of the first things that they stated yesterday. That cannot be the case, but that cannot continuously be the go-to answer when it involves non-Black individuals. You know, it seems as if it's expected in the Black community, but when it comes to the white community, they go to the mental health issue. Truth be told, most of these situations are mental health, but let it be defined as that before going to that card, because we have no idea what it was that caused this young man to do what he did. And getting back to some of the comments on Facebook about parks being closed down, friend of mine, Charlene Mitchell, responded to someone that stated, because the whites are saying blacks are the reason Detroit's get destroyed. And her comment, her retort, that person reply is very, very interesting, because she's right on. She said, don't ever blame any group of people for bearing the responsibility for anything. And she's right. I mean, I'm not, again, I haven't been down to the Detroit fireworks in a while, and there has been issues in the past. I'm not sure if all the issues involve Black people, if they involve white people, if they were a combination of Black and white people, but we do have to be very careful when we address these complicit biases when it comes to issues such as this. So I applaud Charlene Mitchell, former newscaster here in the city of Detroit, for her reply, because she's right on point. You can't blame a whole group. You can't, you know, do the broad brushing of the paintbrush and stroke that paintbrush and blame a whole group of people, because again, you know, Black people in Detroit are not the only ones that cause issues in Detroit. Wow, this is interesting. One commenter said, we basically caused this on ourselves, doing stupid shit. These young people have lost it, and I got young adult kids. I don't even go to stuff outside of my family events, especially general public places. That's a very interesting comment, because no one should be or feel that they cannot attend an event due to the fact that they expect something will happen. You know, I just don't, you know, we have to get better than that, than to just automatically assume that when we're around our group, our tribe, to think that something bad will happen. You know, shit happens. You know, it's not based on race. It's not based on specific demographic groups. I mean, stuff happens. And you know, there's a current trial that's taking place in either New Hampshire or Connecticut. It's called the Preppy murder trial, where a bunch of kids ended up fighting. Guy pulls out a knife and he slices and dices 4 people. One of the people he sliced and diced died, and that's unfortunate. And these were predominantly white kids. What's interesting about this case, and again, New Hampshire, Connecticut, one of the Northeast states, is that people are not talking about it. I just happened to be, channel surfing and yesterday and saw that, that was one of the cases that they will be talking about today on Court TV. And when I got home earlier, I did check out Court TV and saw some of the highlights from that trial. And again, people are people. There's no specific ethnic group, demographic group, color, skin that has cornered the market on doing stupid shit. Again, look what happened yesterday in West Michigan, a predominantly white community, the church, a predominantly white church. So again, we have to be careful when we continue to broad stroke these issues and say, dumb stuff. Because it just helps to perpetuate the realities on perceptions that people have about particular ethnic groups. And it's just not fair to broad stroke all Black people with regards to some of the issues that had happened in the past down at the Detroit fireworks. You call it Hudson. I'm not sure what it's called. I'm not sure who has the naming rights for the fireworks. So I just say the Detroit fireworks. And thank you for your comment, Edward. Edward A. Our local media loves to highlight any negative news in Metro Detroit as an event that happened in Detroit City proper. And he is absolutely right, because if you watch the news, and I know it's so depressing to do nowadays, it is just a hard watch. The first, 5, sometimes as much as 12 minutes, it's just bad news about someone getting shot, someone getting carjacked, even though carjackings have gone down, someone breaking into a house, people fighting. And now the trend on social media appears to show only Black people doing dumb shit all across the country. And I'm sure there are some white people. I mean, I've seen plenty of videos from incidences that have taken place at Walmart that shows Walmart, as well as what's the other place, Waffle House, that shows people that don't look like me doing crazy stuff. So again, we can't just automatically paint that broad brush when it comes to the fireworks in Detroit, and that like all Black people are down there acting a fool. Yes, there are some, I'm sure, but I'm sure there are some other races down there that are acting the fool as well. So again, we just have to be careful about the broad stroking of things that we do sometime. And again, this is an issue for people to address when it comes to the city council races as well as the mayoral race. Why is it that public parks are not public for the citizens of Detroit on events such as the fireworks tonight? So again, those that vote, and speaking of voting, please, people, you got to do better. You can't, 100% of the people cannot be complaining when only 20% of the people vote. And I'm talking about eligible voters. That makes no sense whatsoever to me. So let your voice be heard. If you don't like a candidate, get out there and speak to them. There are all kinds of candidate forums that are taking place, will be taking place all the way up until July 24th. That's the last known candidate forum or debate that I know of, on July 24th. So take advantage of it. My organization, I'm on the board, 100 Black Men of Greater Detroit. We will be having a candidate forum on the 19th of July over at Wayne County Community College Northwest Campus. That candidate forum will consist of both the mayoral candidates as well as the city council candidates. And we, same what we have done in the past, we give the people the power to ask the questions. All the questions are asked by the people. There would be moderators that would be fed questions after they do their introductions. There would be a part of the forum where we have students asking questions. Students from the Umoja Debate League will be asking questions, but audience questions will be the predominant factor in this candidates forum from 10 o'clock a.m. to 1:30 p.m. And you don't have to stay for the whole hour. You could hold 3 hours. There are 2 segments. The first segment will consist of the mayoral candidates. The second segment will consist of those city council candidates that choose to participate. So if you don't want to be there for the mayoral candidate, just come for the city council candidate. If there's a certain person that you are supporting, and we will have a list of those that would be attending out soon. But this is opportunity for the people to let their voices be heard. Now, one caveat I would give people out in advance right now, we ask that you be respectful of the form that we're putting on. We ask that you be respectful of the candidates. We will not censor any questions, but we will not be asking any question of the candidates. That would be one of the directives I would give to the moderators. We will not be asking any questions that will be demeaning and or antagonistic or attacking of any of the candidates, be it the city council candidates or the mayoral candidates. So I put that out there right now. We've done it in the past when we had the candidates forum last year for the presidential campaign, the Senate campaign last year, the state reps, the U.S. Congress reps, and things of that nature. We just want to have an event that is respectful of those that have agreed to participate in our forum, and we don't want to be blasting people based on personal opinions and things of that nature. So please, more information about that to come, but we just ask that you be respectful of our rules and come to learn, not come to antagonize, so to speak. Let me see. Edward A. has another comment. For me, I encourage the people in my circle to stay involved with our candidates for all elections. I completely agree with you, Edward. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine wrote one of the best posts I've only been on Facebook since 2019, but he wrote one of the best posts I've seen in quite a while on Facebook. He talked about civics and the lack of knowledge people have when it comes to the when it comes to electoral process in general. I was at an event back in late February, early March in Detroit, and there were people between the ages of 18 and 80 plus. And just to listen to some of the comments that were being said, it was it was very disappointing, to say the least, because what you don't know, true enough. But some of the stuff some of the questions they were asking, I was like blown away, because these are things that people should know. It's like, basic stuff. I just was, surprised. And then when you give them the numbers, when it comes to voter turnout and things of that nature, people are, clueless, even with regards to the amount of people that came out to vote. And with that being said, it's like, the number was given to them about less than 15% of the people voted 4 years ago in the Detroit mayoral election. Less than 20% voted in the general election for mayor in Detroit. The first number I gave you was for the primary, and people were just blown away that the numbers were so low. And I'm saying to myself, why are you all surprised? If people are not satisfied with the candidates, they're not going to vote. And that's one of the things I always talk about. I am a firm believer in voting, no doubt. But I also, at the same time, understand why people do not vote. If you don't have candidates that is worthy of your time, people just will not vote. And I think that's one of the things that we, just forget about. We just feel that because a name is on the ballot, because a person of a certain race is on the ballot, that people just just going to go out and vote. No. An informed voter will go out and vote. An informed voter will take the time to do research and pick the candidate that is best suited for them, regardless of the party. An informed voter does that. I think far too often when we get caught up in this go along to get along, or voting blue no matter who, and that's not the right approach to have. I was on a panel discussion this past Thursday, the actual Juneteenth holiday, June 19th, up at my alma mater, Eastern Michigan University. And, I didn't hold anything back. My beliefs when it comes to voting are what they are. I am just not, I grew up in Detroit, parents, elders, relatives. When you become a voting age, you Democrat. I didn't know any because you're gonna listen to your parents, you're gonna listen to elders, you're gonna listen to your grandparents, you're gonna listen to those that say they voted. But then once I got to college and I started doing some research on my own, I'm saying to myself, okay, right wing, left wing, same bird. There's no difference. So I just did what I felt has been necessary for my own personal beliefs to vote for the person, not the party. And I voted across the aisle numerous occasions. I voted third party numerous occasions because at the end of the day, this is my opinion, it is an absolute joke that only time you see a lot of these people is come election time. Even when it comes to local elections, if you don't know if anyone is doing anything in the community prior to putting their name on the ballot, they don't deserve your vote. That's my opinion. That's how I roll out here in Canton, Michigan. I know a lot of the elected officials out here personally, and I'm able to see what they're doing in the community. And that's the same approach people need to look at. What are you doing for me before you're asking for my vote? And not me specifically. What are you doing for the community prior to asking for my vote? That is a very important question that people should be asking, even at these candidates forum. Don't get caught up in all the lingo about affordable housing. Don't get caught up in all the lingo about providing jobs to people. Don't get caught up in all the lingo about, well, definitely don't get caught up in the lingo about education, because if you see for yourself, you live in Detroit, it is a fucking shame how terrible education has been in Detroit with this deafening silence and lack of outrage when these scores come out time and time again. I talked about it up in Ypsilanti this past Thursday. In August of 2024, August 30th to be exact of last year, 2 days after the MyStep scores were released, I sent a letter to 106 stakeholders, elected officials, the business community that represent the constituents of Detroit, 106 letters by way of email to all these individuals. I purposely sent it to the State Board of Education elected officials, the City of Detroit DPSCD, whatever they call themselves, received the email. The superintendent received the email. The state superintendent received the email. The assistant superintendents of the various areas received the email. And to get a response back from only 5 people was an abysmal embarrassment. It tells me that they don't care about those black boys and girls in the city of Detroit. I don't care what nobody says, because if they did, I would have gotten back more than 5 responses. One of the responses came from an outgoing U.S. Senator, Debbie Stabenow, and her response was very blah, because all she tried to do was direct me to Governor Whitmer and Lieutenant Governor and a few other people. I had already done that. You know, 2 of the best responses I got, 3 actually, Deputy Mayor at the time, now Chief of Police Todd Bettison, U.S. Senator Gary Peters, and a collective response from the State Superintendent, Michael Rice, the Assistant Superintendent, I forget her name because she was the one that actually signed the letter, and it was a group response on behalf of the superintendents, assistant superintendents, as well as the elected State Board of Education, telling me some of the things that they are doing, all this and that. So I appreciate that, because, you know, as I have seen what's been happening since then, they are about doing what they say they were going to do. So I appreciate that. But not a single person from City Council in Detroit responded. Not a single U.S. representative that represents Detroit responded. Not a single commissioner that represents the city of Detroit responded. My state senator, Dana Powell-Hinkie, she responded. She's the, or was, I'm not sure if she still is. I know she's still on the education committee in Lansing, and I think she was chairman at the time. She responded. But no one else that represents the city of Detroit. And some of them, a lot of them represent parts of Detroit as well as parts of other counties, but none of them responded. And, you know, I could look at it two ways. They don't care, or they too busy to care. And that's what's unfortunate. That's why, I've submitted to quite a few of the current mayoral candidates a document on how education needs to be addressed if they were to be elected. Because if you can talk all you want and want to push the can down the road and say that there's a superintendent and an elected school board. Okay, where there's a state superintendent. Okay, look like we're back. Sorry about that. Had some type of technical difficulty. But yeah, we have to understand that it is very important that these kids are being educated. I mean, someone reached out to me today based on a post I recently made on Facebook, and it talked about the graduation rate and how they are fudging the numbers to make it seem like the graduation rate is improving, is all hunky-dory. At the end of the day, we're not doing these kids, or these school districts are not doing these kids any favors by just passing them along. And they're using the numbers from credit recovery to make it seem as if the graduation rate is improving exponentially. It is not. You can't tell me that a person that's going through credit recovery over a 6-week period of time, 3 days a week, is learning enough to be proficient in that course that they are doing credit recovery for. But that adds to the graduation rate. So the narrative that is being pushed by the powers that be, superintendents, principals of these schools, superintendents of these districts, to make it seem like everything is just all hunky-dory. It's not. We are still doing these black boys and girls a disservice, because at the end of the day, on August 28th, when the MSTEP scores came out, only 10% of 8th graders were proficient in reading in Detroit. Those 8th graders just completed their 9th grade year. So they have 3 more years in the public school system to finish. And playing catch up is the most hardest thing to do when it comes to proficiency in math and reading. So you can be rest assured, come 3 years from now, the class of 28 will not be at a high rate of proficiency where they will be deemed, or should be deemed, to be qualified to work for anybody. But again, they keep doing this, pushing down the needle, pushing the can down the road, and doing these kids a disservice. Just saying just saying your graduation rate is improved, just to be saying it, is amazing to me. And then you had the school board meeting, Detroit Public School Board meeting. They made an announcement about how Detroit had the second highest increase in proficiency in the state of Michigan. People, let me be real with you. that increase was so minuscule to even be bragging about something like that was embarrassing. But they're able to get away with it because how many people are going to question them about what the improvement was? If the improvement was less than 10%, there's no need to talk about it. And the improvement was less than 10%. So why are you even talking about it? But they get away with it because no one is questioning them about it. And until people are questioning them about it, they will continue to pull the wool over the eyes of the people and do whatever the hell that they want because no one is questioning them about it. Last meeting was crowded because of the issue of the deported individual from Western High School. Had it not been for that issue being brought up and he has since been deported, then that meeting would not have even had a decent sized crowd. People were there at that meeting to support that young man. And that's an issue that, okay, is that a priority? Because again, come August, right before the start of school, we're in June right now. In a couple more months, we will be receiving the MSTEP scores. I won't tell anyone to hold their breath to think it's going to be an improvement, but you can hold your breath if you want to. There will not be a significant improvement. I mean, I'm working, with kids, and it's unfortunate. I mean, there are a few kids in the program I'm working with that you'd be like, damn. But we're going to do our best. We're going to hire a couple people this coming fall. We're going to hire some tutors. We're going to hire hopefully I'm going to talk to my alma mater, the College of Health and Human Services, as well as the College of Education at Eastern Michigan University, see if if there are some students looking for an internship, because we do need a behavioral specialist on site, maybe once or twice a week, and we need some tutors. One of the parents has a tutorial service that we just happen to find out about, so we will be hiring her to do some tutorial services as well. But people, we have to do, and some people are like, well, you always talk about education. Okay, why not talk about education? We cannot be singing songs about, I believe the children are our future, teach them well, let them lead the way. If we're not being meaningful about ensuring that they have a future. That George Benson song, The Greatest Love of All, the start of that song, the first 6 stanzas is on point. You have Earth, Wind, and Fire. That's the way of the world. You have a line in that song, child is born with a heart of gold. The way of the world turns his heart so cold. And the way of the world's making these kids not even want to get educated. And then people are bragging and boasting about a small, minuscule increase in proficiency. People are spending tens of thousands of dollars for prom send-offs and all that. Come on, people. We're focusing on the wrong thing. If your kid is not reading at the level that they should be reading at as a graduating senior, and I give them the benefit of the doubt, if they're not at least reading about 9th grade level, then you're doing that child a disservice by awarding them with all this luxury to go out and enjoy for one night when they have the rest of their life to enjoy all of what the world has to offer. We're not doing it. But I continue to say, I had an interview this evening. I spoke to a reporter because they were interested in what I had to say about the graduation rates. And I say it all the time. And thanks for joining an early story, G Money Hollywood, Miss Sheila. And I say it all the time, at the end of the day, one of the greatest travesties of the educational system, the political system, I'm gonna even throw the churches into the equation. The key to controlling people is to keep them dumb. You keep them dumb, you control them. Fraternities and sororities, same thing. They keep their members out of the loop, and the epitome of going along to get along and groupthink or not thinking at all is the Black Greek Letter Organization system. I'm a member of one. I can attest to it. I have challenged my fraternity on numerous occasions. I will not spend another dime being active with my fraternity until I see grown-ass men being able to think for themselves, quit going along to get along. It just boggles my mind. You go to college to learn how to become a productive adult in society, but you have some organizations that talk about leadership and all that. No, it's not leadership, it's fellowship. And you get off on being able to control people by knowing that the average individual, no matter how successful they are, no matter how intelligent, and that's air quotes because intelligence is subjective, just as being successful is subjective. But at the end of the day, we do ourselves a disservice when we don't think for ourselves. People would tell me all the time, one thing I respect you for is you're not a follower. And those that know me and know me well know I don't give a damn about following another human being, particularly another man or woman, because women wear pants too. If you put your pants on one leg at a time, just like me, you're not superior to me. This has nothing to do with race. You're not a superior individual to me. We're on the same level. I could be impressed by you, but at the same time, I'm going to do my research and due diligence when it comes to who I decide to give my vote to. And I know we talked about this. We beat a dead horse with this with regard to the last election. People still mad. People bring about, well, if Kamala was president, no, shut the fuck up. At the end of the day, if you all felt this way, you would have galvanized and did what was necessary to ensure that she got elected. Donald Trump telegraphed every damn thing he was going to do. But it all goes back to April 25th, 2023. When Joe Biden announced his re-election bid, that was the time for people to say, hell to the no, give us something better. They should have demanded better. And even after that debacle on June 27th, 2024, and the anointment of someone on July 21st, 2024, people should have demanded better. They did not demand better. So when I see people, and I'm going to continue to antagonize people that continue to talk about if she had won. She should have never been a candidate to begin with. But truth be told, at the end of the day, back on April 25th, 2023, all of you all that are mad now, you should have been mad as hell then, because that was a time to exercise your voice and do something to ensure that a qualified candidate was going up against Donald Trump. And even if there are those watching, viewing on any platform, you can agree or disagree with me. But at the end of the day, you could be a supporter of Donald Trump. You could be a supporter of the Democratic Party. But at the end of the day, if you're not willing to admit that the people themselves, the electorate themselves, screwed up when it came to the election of 2024, shame on you, because that's exactly what happened. The people screwed up. And they screwed up beginning on April 25th, 2023. When that man announced his re-election bid and all everybody did was fall in line. I have no idea how anybody thought he was going to beat Donald Trump. I mean, I don't. I have no clue what made people think he was a guy that should not have been elected to begin with, in my opinion. I would have never voted. I have never voted for Joe Biden, never will. I have never voted for Donald Trump, never will. He can't run again, talking about running for a third term, so be it. But again, he has never gotten my vote. I've never voted for Kamala Harris. I do my research. Yes, it's tedious, but I'm going to do my research to see what is it about a particular person that has earned my vote to make them deserve my vote. I'm just not going to go out there, with this mantra, vote blue no matter who. Why? That's the most insidious, ignorant shit in the world, to just vote a certain way. And Black America, since 1964, you've been voting blue at a rate of 85% or greater. Ask yourselves, and be honest, ask yourselves, what has the Democratic Party done to improve your lives? Educationally, nothing. At least over the last 30, 40 years in Detroit, 30, 35 years in Detroit. So people, when you know better, you do better. So come 2028, you have an example from 2024. You know better, you do better. And if that's something you cannot do come 2028, shame on you, because the blueprint has been laid, the foundation has been laid. You fell for the okie doke, banana in the tailpipe, everything else, or whatever saying that goes along with doing dumb shit. That's what you did in 2024. Everybody fell for the okie doke, talked about qualifications. That same candidate had those same qualifications back in 2020. She didn't get some support from the people. So I have no idea how all of a sudden she became that person that people felt enamored enough with her to just fall in line and vote for her. Come on, people, be better than that. Do your research, find out, or demand, not find out, but just demand better. That's all that's needed to be done in 2024. Actually, that's all needed to be done back in 2023. The people, particularly the black electorate, should have demanded better. We didn't. Well, y'all didn't, because neither one of them was getting my vote, Joe or her. So you all didn't. And even today, someone posted on Facebook about how they're still mad at black people that didn't vote or chose to vote for Donald Trump. That's their choice. At the end of the day, people made a choice to do what they did. The highest percentage of people that did not vote, the highest percentage of people that participated in the 2024 general election for president were non-voters. So quit being mad at those that did not vote the way you felt they should have voted, and be mad at those that did not vote at all. And this is an example of why it's necessary for, if you really go be involved in the political process, galvanize with those that has your same interests at heart. Crying over spilled milk now means nothing, absolutely nothing, because you are not doing anything to fix the problem. You're just adding to the problem, because complaining is a problem. So just do better in 2028. You have 2026 midterms, and all this talk about Jasmine Crockett, AOC, neither one of them going to be the candidate. So get that out of your minds right now. Wes Moore, he won't be the candidate. And I saw recently someone talked about, this is somebody prominent, he talked about that the next Democratic nominee for president in 2028 will be a white male. I tend to agree with them. I know one white male it won't be, and that's Pete Buttigieg. Do your research on him. People say about how nice he is and all that, but do your research on how poor of a job he did as mayor in South Bend, Indiana. So quit falling for just being told who you should support. And that's one of my biggest problems with the city of Detroit in this mayoral election. The Mackinac Policy Conference was wrong. WDIB Channel 4 was wrong. At the end of the day, every single candidate deserves to be on the debate stage. The media, corporate America, whomever else should not be dictating who the people who they feel should be the best 4 people on the debate stage, 5 people on the debate stage. People, if you allow this to continue to happen, you have nobody to blame but yourselves when you're not satisfied with whoever it is that comes out the winner, because you sat back and did not demand better. People should have demanded better of Channel 4, WDIV in Detroit, that all candidates be on that stage. People should have demanded better of the Mackinac Policy Conference, that all candidates be on the stage up in Mackinac, and they didn't. So please, people, do your research. And even if those candidates are not on the stage, even us, 100 Black Men, we're a nonprofit. We don't endorse. We don't do anything like that. But we will present an opportunity for people to come hear all candidates. All candidates have received an invite. It is up to them to accept that invite to come participate at the candidates forum on July 19th. As a matter of fact, one of the co-hosts of Detroit in Black and White will be one of the moderators. Attorney Vanessa Moss will be one of the moderators of that event. There will be 2 moderators that are attorneys. Thomas A. Bailey, she's an attorney, professor down at Wayne State. And then the other moderator will be Juwan Howard. the founder, creator of Umoja Debate League, as well as the Umoja community, and soon to be the operator of a bookstore on the west side of Detroit on Puritan. Those will be the three moderators. There will be a segment where students from the Umoja Debate League will be asking questions because, again, they are the future. So we're going to give them an opportunity to let their voice be heard because in a few years, some of those students will have the opportunity to be voting for the mayor of the city of Detroit, the city of which they live in, as well as voting for school board members, even though there are no school board candidates on this particular run for election cycle. But I'm giving those young people an opportunity for their voice to be heard. And that's what we have to do. Pass the baton on or give them an opportunity to be a part of the process, because we constantly talk about what kids are not doing, what young adults are not doing. Well, you give them an opportunity to be involved in some things, and they will be involved in some things. It's as simple as that. So this has been interesting. There's been some great comments. G Money, Detroit Mass Media is horrific. I plead the fifth on that because I know a lot of people in the mass media, G Money. They are no longer strong. I can agree with you on that. Reporters or journalists, they are merely entry-level intern reporters and unprofessional news readers that work for merely nothing monetarily. The Democratic Party did not even allow for another candidate to run up against Harris. They did not. People need to vote more productive on the state and local level before even thinking about the national level. G Money hit the nail on the head. So too did you as well, Miss Sheila. Research for yourself. And you're right, G Money. The local level of voting means everything, because people have to understand who you elect locally may one day be your U.S. congressperson or your U.S. senator, maybe your governor, and possibly your president. So it's important to do your research, and it's important to vote locally. That's why it's a damn shame that 4 years ago, less than 20% of the people voted in a general election for mayor. And that 20% also voted for those city council people that currently serve. That 20% is inclusive of all offices that was up for the people to vote from. So yeah, we have to do, or you all have to do better in Detroit. It makes no sense. And then a sad part about it, they are already predicting a low voter turnout on August the 5th. So it's incumbent upon these candidates. If I was a candidate in Detroit, there's one main thing I will focus on: education. But in addition to that, if I'm running citywide, there are 2 seats citywide, or if I'm running in the district, I will knock on every single door in the city. If I was running citywide at large, and then if I was running in district 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, I would be knocking on every single door in the district for which I'm running in. But a lot of people are letting name recognition get in the way of making informed decisions. There is enough research, and to get back to Ms. Sheila's point, research for yourself. There's enough research to be done or can be done to make an informed decision on any incumbent that's running for city council, any incumbent that's leaving city council trying to run for mayor. There's enough research to be done to see if any of these people are worthy of your vote again, or if any of these people are worthy of elevating from city council to the mayor's office. All the information is out there available to you. Just take the time. It's tedious, and I'll be the first to say it's tedious. But even in my days of writing political blogs for the Detroit News, one thing that I always got a pat on the back for was my research. I did my research. Even since I've been on Facebook. I've been on Facebook since June of 2019. Maybe late May of 2019. I've only been fact-checked once. And the fact check that was done on me, Facebook reversed their decision because they came at me saying that it was not truthful when I posted about the urban jungle, a comment made by Joe Biden when he was against integrating schools. And I say, no, the context of which he used it speaks to exactly a wildly derogatory comment. He stated that he did not want his kids going to school in an urban jungle. There's only one way to interpret that if it's a white person saying that. So he specifically said he did not want his kids going to school in an urban jungle. Facebook, when they tried to fact check me, said that that was not his intent. I don't give a damn what his intent was. I know what he said. And knowing what he said, you know, and what I found interesting, it's okay for others to have a complicit bias about us or interpret and or have a perception about us as a people. But when we call them out on the carpet on their perception of us, you want to tell me that wasn't his intent. Oh, that was his intent. He aligned himself with segregationists that did not believe in integrating schools. So you add that to the point of him referring to black communities of education as urban jungles. Yes, his intent was very deliberate. He said what he said and he meant what he meant. So Facebook reversed their decision and even went as far as to apologize to me for the perspective I provided them in defending why I didn't think that they should have fact checked me. So when you know stuff and you're able to eloquently talk about it, it helps your cause. You know, so people get mad at me all they want when I gaslight the Democratic Party. You can ask me all you want. Why don't you do the same for the Republican Party? Because my people are not voting for the Republican Party. So I'm trying to wake them up to why they fail, or why they fall into this nonsense of following the Democratic Party. And at the appropriate time, yes, I do. I mean, I've never voted for Donald Trump. I've stated numerous times why I don't vote for Donald Trump. You know, to one of my frat brothers that came to my defense last year, he stated to the people, Eric has made it very clear he's not voting for either one of the two-party system candidates, and he gave very cogent reasons why he wasn't doing it. All you people here is he's not voting for the Democrat. And he has made it clear not only is he not voting for the Democrat, he's not voting for the Republican, and he has not voted for a Republican or a Democrat since 2008 when he voted for Barack Obama, of which I've only voted for once. So in 2012, 2016, 2020, 2024, I have voted third party. And chances are, come 2028, Lord willing, I'm still around, I will be voting third party. I mean, the Democratic Party, Republican, I mean, come on, people. Right wing, left wing, same damn bird, same exact bird. Why enough of us do not understand that? I just do not get it. But one day we will. One day we'll wake up, just like one day we will wake up and fix the educational crisis that is negatively impacting every single urban community in America. Every single urban community in America. We'll get better. We'll get there. I mean, 2 weeks ago, it was reported of 182 cities, Detroit ranks 180 when it comes to educational standard. The state of Michigan, out of 50 states, ranked 44 when it comes to educational standards. But we want to brag and boast about they not like us. People, they don't want to be like us. They're not trying to be like us. Let's be real. You know, we want to brag and boast about how great Detroit is. That's subjective because we damn sure not great in the classroom. A very fixable problem that needs to be fixed, but quit dancing, quit flapping fans, and do the work that's necessary to ensure that these kids in the future are educated to get good paying jobs, to be productive citizens in society, and just be the future that we want them to be. And on that note, I want to say thank you for all that watched this evening. Detroit in Black and White presents Reality Strikes with Eric Brown. Like, share, come back next week. Week after next. I enjoy reading the comments. Great comments. G Money, Sheila, Miss Sheila, Edward A. Kenneth Powell, A Early Story, Jill Sheridan, who's all the names I'm listing are, regulars to not just my show, but to the Detroit Black and White franchise. And Karen Winston. I appreciate you all for joining me this evening. I'm about to get off, so those that live in Detroit, I'm not sure if you can watch the fireworks on television or if you're going to watch it downtown. You got time to get downtown to check it out, but enjoy your evening. God bless you. Get back to you next Monday, same time, same place. Thanks again for joining me, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.